All right, the first thing I'll be adding is calcium to the swimming pool. You can see that we have our calcium flakes right here. Now, when adding this, I always want to add it to a bucket of water first. Then I'll pour that into the swimming pool, but I want to pre-dissolve this. And this pool needs 25 pounds. We're not going to do a full 25 pounds right now because one, we don't want to cloud up the pool, but two, we don't need to be that aggressive. You have time, so hit it in doses. Now, while calcium is dissolving, it gets hot, so don't be spooked if you stick your finger in there and you feel that water warming up. We'll go ahead and let this dissolve. Now, once it's dissolved, with most chemicals, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour it around the perimeter of the swimming pool. So here's my calcium. See how it's coming out milky? You won't see me putting chemicals straight into the skimmer basket because I don't want to do anything to clog up my filters. And I also don't want to damage any of my lines. Another thing to watch out for is you don't want to add a lot of alkalinity and calcium at the same time because it will cloud up a swimming pool. All right, so the next thing I'll be adding is baking soda, alkalinity, sodium bicarb, all the same product, but it is baking soda. So this scoop right here is a 3-pound scoop. I'll pre-dissolve it in water. I'm gonna give it a quick stir in, and then I'm gonna pour it around the perimeter of the swimming pool. You shouldn't see a dramatic change when you're adding baking soda to a pool. And once again, don't be in such a huge hurry. You don't have to do all 25 pounds at once, but slowly get that alkalinity back up over time. All right, to lower our pH as well as lower our alkalinity, we'll use muriatic acid. Now, when using muriatic acid, you do want to get upwind from it, I should say, because it will gas you a little bit. However, when mixed to a swimming pool, it balances out. It's just lowering that pH. So don't think you're turning your pool into acid by putting a little bit of muriatic acid in there. Just like with my alkalinity and calcium, I'm gonna pre-dissolve this, or I'm gonna mix it in a bucket of water, all right, just to dilute it down a little bit. And if I'm lowering my alkalinity, I'll drop all of it into the deep end. However, if I'm lowering my pH, I'll do it around the perimeter of the swimming pool. It's gonna lower both no matter how you do it. It's just one side's more effective than the other as far as dropping alkalinity and pH. And my ideal pH is that 7.5, and that's because it's comfortable on the eyes, but I'm also trying to get to that perfect saturation index. All right, the next thing I'll be adding is cyanuric acid to the swimming pool. Now I've already put this into my pantyhose here. I've got 3 pounds, which is, it's calling for 5 pounds, but I'm only gonna do 3 pounds at a time. And what I'm gonna do with this is I'm gonna put it in the pool skimmer. Now this is slow dissolving, so it shouldn't have any kind of negative impact on my filter or my lines. And usually after about 24 or 48 hours, that's gonna go ahead and dissolve, and then my conditioner levels will be up in the swimming pool. All right, so the next thing we'll be adding to the swimming pool is salt. Our current levels are 2,000 parts per million. We wanna bring that up to 3,400 parts per million. Now, when adding salt to a pool, what I like to do is dump it into the shallow end, and then I brush it towards the deep end. I don't want this just sitting on the bottom, but I also don't want to overload my main drain with all the salt. So if I put it in the shallow end and then brush it, it allows it to dissolve before it actually starts circulating through my system. Now I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to brush it towards the deep end. And I just want to see that poof up. And salt should have no negative impact on your liner. There's no bleaching effects, but you don't want it just sitting there or your Polaris ends up getting it caught in the bag, and it's unsightly if it's just sitting there slow dissolving. So always get in the habit of brushing your chemicals after you put them into the swimming pool. You'll save yourself a lot of trouble by doing that. All right, next thing we're gonna be adding is granular shock to the pool. My chlorines were at a 0, so I need to spike that up. I don't wanna just rely on my salt system to bring it up. I wanna give it a little jolt. So I take my granular shock, this is Cal Hypo, and I pre-dissolve it once again into a bucket of water. Now if I take this shock right here and I let it sit on the bottom of a liner, it will bleach that liner. It'll create a bleaching stain. Liners have an ink print on it. This is a type of bleaching agent. It'll eat that up. So always pre-dissolve. If you have any settle afterwards, always be sure to brush it. I'm gonna pour it around the perimeter of the swimming pool. All right, so we have a salt pool here, so 99% of the time it is not going to require chlorine tablets. However, if I ever feel that my salt system is not functioning, it's not producing chlorine for me, or it's not keeping up, maybe it's getting old, I'll start supplementing with chlorine tablets. Now, ideally, I'm going to use a chlorinator that's hooked up to the pool equipment. That way it's not going through my skimmer, going through my plumbing lines, or I'm going to use a bobber in the center of the pool that the chlorine tablets will go in and it'll disperse just while it's floating. That's not the case right now. I don't have a chlorinator on this unit because it's a salt pool, and I don't have a bobber with me right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it into the skimmer just so I get that fast push. Now, don't make a habit of this. Go and get a bobber. You don't want to get in the habit of using tablets in your skimmer. So just be aware on that side. So I'll just set these tablets right into the skimmer. They're going to slowly dissolve and add chlorine to this swimming pool. I just don't want my pool to turn green. All right, so if you don't want your pool to turn green, you got to have a disinfectant. Your disinfectant is going to come from chlorine. So that chlorine is either going to come from chlorine tablets, from the chlorine your salt system produces, or a granular shock. Today we went over how to properly maintain the chemistry in your swimming pool. All right, this includes testing. All right, this includes having the right chemicals. This includes adding the right chemicals properly. All right, I love hearing it when someone says, wow, just get a salt system. My pool is so easy to maintain, I don't have to do anything. All right, when you hear that, you are destroying your swimming pool. All right, it's also not a healthy environment for you to be swimming in. You have to be keeping up with every parameter of swimming pools. Lucky for you, you can call a company like J&M Pool Company, and we'll come out and maintain, include all the chemicals, and make it where you don't have to handle these or apply them to your swimming pool. And you have that peace of mind knowing that it's always healthy for you, your children, your grandchildren, and it's swim ready for every party.